Where's one of my notes?
Bum, 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 bum. We're here. We're back. Did you guys miss us?
What up, everybody?
Hopefully you guys are here because you want to find out a little bit more about action figure theater.
Gonna
So
test some stuff
today we're going to get to play with some stuff, test some stuff. So you're going to get some sneak peeks into how things are going to work, what it's going to look like, what you can expect. Because I know a lot of people have kind of been like, what in the world is this? Like, this could be anything. So I know a lot of people are excited to get a sneak peek and see what we got here. And for that, I guess we'll introduce ourselves just in case. I'm Irish Melly. I am coming at you live from where I'm at. Dawn?
I am Duwanda. I'm coming to you live somewhere in California.
I'm Mike from San Diego. Welcome.
I
Ain't hiding from nobody. Okay.
was gonna say like basement, then I was gonna say like office area, and then I was like, somewhere.
Look at Spidey in the background. Go, Tom, go. Okay, so what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do this. At first, a disclaimer. I am a Marvel fan. Some Marvel comics I grew up with. I'm not an expert. There are experts out there that we can refer you to their videos. So if you're catching this, this is for younger crowd. This is for fun. This is to give you an introduction to the MCU with using some figures and some props and some fun stuff for people who just don't understand what's going on, just how are clueless to superhero movies in general. That's what we're here. So if Marvelites are clicking on this video because our algorithm says so, I'm not an expert. Come here for the fun, make fun of us, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just comment.
Comment. Please, I beg you, give me your comment.
Yes.
You're turning into a comment whore, Mike.
Yeah, I know. Don and I both are fans, so we both can,
let's see. Katie's here. Hey, Katie. Katie. Welcome. B is here. Mwah. Debbie is here. Hey, girlfriend. And did I miss anybody?
Nope.
Those three for right now.
For right now, yep.
Well, welcome, guys.
Welcome.
You guys are here.
So, what are we talking about? We're going to be talking about.
What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about Marvel Studios. Mel had specifically requested that we do an introduction on the MCU. She's like, "What is all these Marvel movies? How do they all fit together? What's the timeline?"
I've seen a few of them, but I haven't seen enough of them to watch Endgame, honestly. And I would love to watch that one just because it has everybody. Yes, but I feel like I'd be cheating myself if I just jumped on the bandwagon and watch the movie rather than understand the story and then enjoy the movie.
Right.
It's like reading the last chapter of a book.
They did all the other ones before for a reason, right?
Yep.
Yes, for a very good reason. Most of them are necessary. Some of them you could get a synopsis, but most are necessary.
Some are fillers.
Not really.
Isn't some of the Thor a little bit of filler?
No. We'll talk about the Trinity. We'll talk about the three. But yeah, you just do yourself justice to watch them all.
You see, Debbie, squeak.
What?
Sorry, that's my Crocs. Hashtag Deadpool.
I love Deadpool. I was just watching Deadpool the other night. Deadpool is not part of this, by the way. So
sorry, Deb.
So just a little background, just a real quick rundown. We covered this before, way early when the channel started.
Yeah.
But how Marvel. What is Marvel Studios? Because everybody's like, well, why don't they do, this character or that character? We're going to explain why. First off, Marvel Studios back in the 80s was kind of like its own corporation, and then they got huge. Once the 80s broke and you had all those 80s comics and you had the 80s of indulgence, Marvel just started doing marketing and toys and comics and t-shirts and
explosion of stuff in the 80s.
Yeah.
So they decided to outsource, to sell their company into a stock kind of thing. And basically, in a nutshell, Toy Biz, a toy company, bought Marvel Comics or Marvel Enterprises. And the subsidiary of Toy Biz kind of ran the whole thing right from the start. And the man by the name, just remember him.
Wait. Pause for 1 second. Okay, I'm an X-Men IRL. So you either meant to say girl which I am too. I'm down with you, Debbie. Or you meant to say IRL, which means in real life. So, Debbie, do you have some fucking superpowers we don't know about? And I'm sorry, Mike, that's why I had to stop you, because Debbie might have some fucking superpowers.
So we don't know about.
Remember, Mel, we got kids in the house.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
So, remember this
I will
name.
put a quarter in the jar and I will sit in timeout. I am sorry, guys. Sorry.
Remember this name. Ovid, A-V-I-D, A-R-A-D, just A-A. Ovid Arad. He's a huge player in all this. He became the CEO. He ran Marvel Comics during this time at Toy Biz. And through him running it, he actually got the first film franchise off the ground. And that was X-Men and Spider-Man. So these were put on by two different studios, because at the time no studio had dibs on anything like they're grabbing hands on. They say, okay, Sony's got we'll do this, Fox will do this. And by them grabbing a hold of certain characters, when the bankruptcy happened, because Marvel goes through a bankruptcy in the late 90s. And when
bad bankruptcy.
One of the things that Stan Lee did to save the company was he
sell his soul to the devil.
Yeah. In Marvel Comics, you have like teams. So you have the Avengers, you have the X-Men, you have the Fantastic Four, you have the cosmic side, you have Spider-Man. You know, the teams like Hulk, things like that. Just that huge, many comics and characters come behind it. And they decided to sell off the franchises, movie rights, not comic rights, movie rights, not toy rights, movie rights, live action movies, to different studios. And so the studios,
which is why we got an explosion of movies that people would rather forget.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So when the different studios were already working with these properties, they're like, Fox over here, we started X-Men, we want the X-Men. So they bought the X-Men franchise. They also bought the Fantastic Four. Sony, they wanted Spider-Man. They were already working with Spider-Man with, those first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Universal Studios got the Incredible Hulk series. And there was a bunch of characters left over from the pool of where all this went that kind of just went back into a Marvel pot. Wasn't really a corporation anymore because it was going bankruptcy and stocks were being sold out, but it was kind of like a Marvel entity. It was like, we still own these as Marvel Comics, but we still need to outsource to a studio to get a film made if we want to film. So they're like,
hey, Buffy, Buffy's here.
Yeah. Do we do films? Or do we just let these other studios, X-Men and Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, do their thing? Well, we all saw how that started to turn out. Not so good there towards the end of their runs. It's like they ran Fantastic Four before it even got started. They ran Spider-Man into the ground. They ran X-Men into the ground. So it's like, finally, Kevin Feige, who was the CEO of Marvel at the time, stepped up and he said, we're going to do it. We're going to create something special. And they said, all right, what are you going to do? They said, who do we have? He goes, what characters do we have left? Who are we going to do? And they figured out they had three main characters, the Trinity. They had Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. And what does that make up? The core of the Avengers. They had the Avengers property. And the Avengers properties, the characters that they had was huge, because what that meant.
Let me ask you real quick. Now, with that happening, and obviously I know there's more to come after that before we get to the end game, but is that why it took so long to get to end game? I mean, obviously they wanted the stories to be done right, but it did take a long time from when they started to get there. And now is that because they had to, collaborate and get all the rights for all these different characters and everything?
I'll explain why. I'll explain how it happened.
Okay.
But it was, it took 12 years basically to get it done. But so they had the Avengers, and then Kevin Feige got this little brainchild in his head. He's the man of genius, cutthroat. He's a genius, and he says, "What can we do with the Avengers?" Well, comic books. This is going to answer your question here, Mel. Comic books, like what they base the comic off of, our whole story is going to follow this comic. This is the Infinity Gauntlet. What this is, what Marvel Comics was doing at the time, is they would have all.
I'm sorry, I see the TV in the background. He's just smashing something. I have no idea what's happening.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Comics at the time, you'd have all the different books out. You have Spider-Man book out, X-Men book out, Iron Man, Thor. All their own individual titles, And then once a year, they would come together for an event, and that event would run throughout the summer. So like Secret Wars, Civil War, Infinity Gauntlet, all those were all Marvel comic books crossover events, and they do their thing, which is a pain in the ass for comic book collectors because you got to start reading everybody in order to follow the whole story.
Right. That's why, unfortunately, like I used to be into comics when I was younger, and I just stopped because that was the problem. And then it was finding the right ones and everything else, and then they were expensive, and I'm like, I just can't do it.
When
I never got into the comics. I got into
the crossover. The crossover that I'm getting ready to get into now that was supposed to start in April, but because of COVID, it didn't. And it'll be starting later on this summer in August. Is a crossover called Empire, and it's the biggest crossover that Marvel has ever done, and it's going to run over like 120 issues.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? It's gonna be huge. So I'm really excited about it. So anyway, he said we could do the Infinity Gauntlet, and what the Infinity Gauntlet is this huge epic story that takes all of our characters into the biggest threat that they've had since the creation of Marvel Comics, and that's a god, Thanos, who basically can destroy the world. He can wipe everything out. How do superheroes fight an unbeatable villain? But they can't start without starting from the beginning. So Kevin Feige says that's the long-term dream. That will be if we ever do anything right, one day we'll get there. Because comics were like issue by issue. He's like, we need to tell the issues first to get to the main story. So where do we start? Jon Favreau come up with the idea. He says, let's do Iron Man. So you got Kevin Feige got Jon Favreau, and then Gwyneth Paltrow came on board, and Robert Downey Jr., and they were set. They were gold. They all went in there. They were all positive. They all said, you know what? Let's make the most authentic superhero movie ever, not concentrating on anything else that anybody's doing, and just tell Iron Man's story. That's it. And they got Paramount Pictures to produce it and distribute it, and it was a hit. Iron Man at the time was considered like a B-level character. He
really
Spider-Man. Yeah. He wasn't like Wolverine. He was just a B-level. That's why Marvel still had these characters left, because nobody wanted to buy them. They didn't think they were marketable.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
So
because they made so much money when Iron Man hit the box office.
So Iron Man came out, huge smash. They said, where do we go for next? They're like, let's go with the Incredible Hulk. Everybody loves because the reason why they chose the Incredible Hulk right away for second, I believe, is they could start the Incredible Hulk just mid-story because everybody knows Hulk's backstory. Everybody knows that Bruce Banner's messing with gamma radiation, and it goes into the Hulk, and that's how they did the beginning of the Incredible Hulk's credits. It was just the backstory told like in a little music video.
The movies, the cartoon, the TV shows, like they all stayed with the format. So it made it over generations where people could know about this character.
Yeah, he was the most famous of the characters they had. They're like, everybody knows who the Hulk is. So let's just do his film and get it out of the way.
I loved watching the old TV show when he'd get mad and start ripping his clothes off.
Well, that's the beginning credits of the movie. Is that story of that TV show?
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And so they told the Hulk.
Now, wait. When we say Incredible Hulk, can we please clarify? We're talking Mark Ruffalo Incredible Hulk, not the ill-fated Edward Norton Incredible Hulk.
Same guy, same character.
Same character, but we're not talking Edward Norton. I mean, that was kind of a flop.
It's Bruce Banner. There's been 3 major recasts in the MCU, and we'll get to them each time. But he was one of the first. But yes, same character. But we know him as Mark Ruffalo now. But yeah, it's Incredible Hulk.
And now you couldn't see it any other way, could you?
I actually prefer Edward Norton. To tell you the truth.
Did you really? That's interesting to me. That's really interesting because most people I've talked to didn't.
Yeah, I've always liked Edward Norton's work.
And I think it's just because he was a smaller guy. But the thing is Bruce Banner was a smaller guy.
Yeah. Oh, we can talk about Squirrel Girl later. Crazy thing. So then they did Thor and Captain America. So they call it the Trinity because there's a funny thing with the Hulk. When we get into the formation of Marvel Studios and actual Disney buying the property, all of those properties that they have carried over, except for Hulk. They couldn't have Hulk. Hulk went with Universal. And
Bruce Banner, David Banner.
Yeah, once that happened, they decided not to ever do a solo Hulk movie again. Universal was nice, and they said you can have him. You can play with him all you want. You can have him in every movie you want. But if you do a titled Hulk film, we get the money. We get the rights.
Of course.
So he's allowed to in other people's movies. He's not allowed to have his own. But they're much nicer than Sony with Spider-Man. So
But didn't he have his own?
No.
Universal owned him. Universal didn't give him up when they went to Disney.
Huh.
So he's still at
Well,
Universal.
and now they see the money they made off of it. They're not going to.
The Hulk is the only property left that's not in Disney's hands, surprisingly. And Spider-Man, of course.
Right,
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
So
Not
they
not
call it the
anymore.
these are our main guys that were able to they could base the whole Infinity Gauntlet saga over, and that was the path they set forward. They did everybody's origin story, and they did one Iron Man sequel because that was their first, and then they wanted to lead up to the big event movie, and everything that the Marvel Cinematic Universe was going to do hinged on the success of the first Avengers. And so if you're curious, and we're gonna start going through the stories next week of how we get to everywhere to where we get to and what the stories all mean, so you can get the timeline, Melinda. But basically, what the Avengers was, and where they were really really smart, was they were going to, because if you see on here the Infinity, where's that? I'm all confused. The Infinity Gauntlet, right? That glove that he's wearing right there, which is this glove. Okay. See the gems on here?
Those are the Infinity Stones.
Infinity Stones.
Right. This whole thing became about a quest for Infinity Stones. Where are they at? Who has them? Who left them somewhere? Who's got control of them? And when are they all going to come together? And that all comes together in Infinity War and Endgame. And we mess with the Infinity. So it took all of this time. So to answer your question about all of these movies is we're tracing these stones, and we have to know its history, where it's at, what it can do, what power, and we have to develop all the heroes, what the heroes are going to do, how the heroes are going to interact with the stones, because the importance of the stones is what gives the bad guy Thanos his power to destroy everything. If they don't know how to counteract that, they're screwed. And so that's why it took all the time. And basically, they followed the format of comics. Was they're going to do individual issues, then they're going to release a crossover trade. And these crossover trades are basically like every Avengers movie. So you have all your little individual issues, then you have an Avengers movie. And you have all your little individual issues, and you have an Avengers movie. So that's how they worked it. And they call them phases with the movies. You have phase 1, phase 2.
Makes sense.
Phase 3.
So whenever you hear Marvel Comics talk about phases, that's where they're talking about all the individual issues and then an event movie. Phase 3 would just happen to be very long because they were really just kept going and going and going until they had it all together. But the first 2 phases that we'll talk about next week is each individual movie and then the Avengers. We will meet other heroes on the way because this is not the full Avengers team. But these are the core guys that we're going to follow all the way through. In fact, Iron Man and Captain America will carry the whole thing, the whole story, all the way through.
Right.
And
I know that much.
what's genius about this setup is by the time you Endgame, you have lived with, known, have the emotions, felt everything. You're like friends with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they're feeling. And that's why it does you justice to watch them all in order, watch the succession as they grew.
Watch the friendship begin and blossom.
Exactly. So it's really,
It's
really,
like
really.
It's like dealing with a giant family and how they build.
Yeah. It's they took their time. They realized that once Iron Man came out, we'll talk about Disney in a minute. But once Iron Man came out and they realized that everyone was a success, then the other guys came out, Thor, Captain America, and even the Incredible Hulk, and they're like, oh, people are really buying into this. We're seeing more success than even Spider-Man or X-Men had. They're like, we're on to something. And so they said, let's just pump the brakes and only ever concentrate on the one movie that we're doing. So
it makes sense to do it that way, though. It really does.
They put their blinders on. They didn't worry about Avengers. They didn't worry about Infinity War. They said, let's take care of the property the best we can take care of the property and then go on to the next one. However, what they did do, which was really fun, is they made the end credit scene a pop culture event.
Yep.
At the end of the first Iron Man film, Sam Jackson, I had this figured out. Oh, well. I'll show them when we tell the story. Sam Jackson comes out and basically tells the audience, we're going to do the Avengers. And the audience did not know at the time. The audience had no idea what their plans were. And when he
Right.
said that, it was like these comic book nerds just lost their freaking mind. It's like, oh my God, that is great. So,
And then after that, you had to literally stay for the end to find
if
out
you
what
went to go see a Marvel film and you saw people get up and leave, you're like, oh, you damn fool. You didn't see the whole movie. Because there's end credit scenes became a thing. Everybody just sat there and waited till the whole damn thing. And you know, these movies have like 20-minute long credits because
God, yeah, lots of them.
talking
you
and
had to wait till the end.
enjoying what you're doing. There has not
Yeah.
been an MCU film that has been a failure. Does not have excitement around. There's been some that are better than others, but they've all been great. You know, when they come out. But let's talk about Disney for a second. So when did Disney come into the picture? Everybody's talking about why is Marvel messing with Disney? Disney, in its own business sense, Bob Iger decided, you know what? Before my retirement, I'm going to open a streaming service. And it's going to be the greatest streaming service on the planet. It's going to revolutionize television. And he laid the gauntlet down, 15 years ago. And he said, that's my end game. That's my goal. So he set out to buy, to pump up the company and set out to buy as many big franchise properties as he could. That's why he bought Star Wars. That's why he bought Marvel. So at the end of running these individual movies, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, before they got to the big crossover event, they made this sale to Disney. So now Disney reaped the rewards of the Avengers because Disney was the one that was putting on the big first crossover event. And what was funny about the time of the Avengers, when the Avengers came out, they said it couldn't be done. And Avengers is simple now compared to like Endgame. And they said Avengers could never work. They said it will not happen. It cannot work. It's going to be a failure. These critics were already trashing it before it even happens. They're like, you won't know what characters on the screen. You won't be able to follow their story. It's going to be a haphazard mess. It was huge, absolutely huge. It was crazy huge. So in Endgame, we all saw how that went on. That was the biggest movie that in the world right now. So
Huge.
We are now
It was huge.
We are now in current modern time on the first movie of Phase 4, and that is Black Widow. So we've what they're calling what we just saw. Mel, to break it down, is Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 is called the Infinity Saga. That's like one big omnibus book, and it goes on the shelf. And so it can be complete. You can take that package, you can walk away with it, never see another Marvel film, and you have the full story. You have the saga. And Black Widow, the new movie starts. It's going to start a whole new omnibus, a whole new saga, but they're not forgetting their history. So everything that happened in the Infinity Saga is going to matter, but it's not going to be this story. We're leading into a new story, a new generation.
New story.
Yeah. So these 23 films, if you see any other Marvel film outside of the 23 Infinity Saga films, they're not the MCU. So everybody talks about the MCU. What is the MCU? The MCU is Disney. It's Disney Marvel. So it's the 23 films that Disney has put out so far. So like if you've got right now a Deadpool movie, or you have a Spider-Man, not Spider-Man, if you have like what was some of the others? X-Men was before, Fantastic Four was before, and all those that came before this weren't part of the Infinity Saga. They are not MCU films. They're not considered part of the MCU canon. Venom is not part of the MCU canon. It's not part of the MCU storyline. Those films do not exist in this story. So anything that like say Tobey Maguire Spider-Man did has nothing to do with this story. It's a different world, a different universe. There's
That's where Spider-Man throws you all off, because there's different Spider-Mans for different universes.
Yeah. And see, the thing about Spider-Man is like he's the number one selling property in the world of all times, just the number one name franchise.
Yeah.
And so I think kids don't care. Spider-Man swinging around, New York. There you go. It's Spider-Man. Yep. But to people that are following like consecutive stories and concise stories and stuff, you just know that the 3 iterations of Spider-Man are all totally different. They all have nothing to do with each other. And that Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man that came out was that was Sony pouting. That was Sony being pissy. Because they were mad at the direction that Sam Raimi was taking the original Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire was being a little, about his contract and faking illness and injury and all this crazy stuff went down. So Sony plays hardball because remember that name in the beginning? Sony's now run by AA, who started all that. So he now is competing with Kevin Feige, and they used to work together. They started the first X-Men together. Now they're totally separate, and Feige's winning. Feige's winning the whole ball game. And
yeah, big time.
They're pretty damn pissed about the whole thing. You only know the Toby Spidey. I feel bad for you.
We gotta fill you in, Dab.
The Toby Spider's the worst to me. You gotta watch the Tom Holland ones. Then you'll know Spider-Man. But let's talk about those franchises for a second. So when I said in the beginning, who we have? X-Men, Fantastic Four, yes, Spidey.
And Spidey.
Okay, these are the big ones. These are the big three wheelhouses besides Hulk that were out there in the world, right? So X-Men and Fantastic Four, they were both leftover Fox properties, 20th Century Fox properties. Disney bought 20th Century Fox. The sale finally went through, and the sale just went through last year. So everything going forward from Black Widow on, you're going to start to see the Fantastic Four and X-Men into the MCU. You will see them into the new stories, yes. But that's going to confuse people maybe with X-Men.
I was going to say, and it's going to be interesting casting. I want to know.
It will be totally different. They will people that they cast that.
Which I would really, really, really want them to redo Fantastic Four. I just want some better justice done to it.
Yeah, they're going to do Fantastic Four.
I mean, that's a legacy right there for Stanley, you know.
Yeah, well, Fantastic Four was the first comic. Is Marvel's first family.
Right.
And so they need to have. That's right. Tobey Maguire's dead to me. Tobey Maguire's a creep. He's absolutely.
Yeah, I heard he's a jerk.
He's totally the worst Spider-Man. But Fantastic Four needs some justice. They really do. And I think everybody just hated those movies so bad that there's like, I don't care what they do with Fantastic Four. Just thank God it's in the MCU. X-Men's a different story. There's some beloved X-Men stuff that happened at Fox. Even though there are some disasters that happened at Fox, there's still some really good stuff that happened at Fox.
Yeah.
When that new Wolverine walks on the screen, that's going to be the MCU's biggest challenge. Because I don't think anybody's going to accept anybody with Hugh Jackman at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. One right there.
That's going to be really hard. Really hard.
And I tell you, I don't think they messed with Wolverine for a long time, to tell you the truth. But Spider-Man has survived. I mean, when Tom Holland came on the scene, so let's talk about Spider-Man. So this is Fox, 20th Century Fox. They don't know him anymore because 20th Century Fox doesn't exist. Disney bought it. Spider-Man is still over at Sony. Hulk is still over at Universal. Hulk's playing nice. They're sharing. Sony's like causing World War III. Okay, because Sony got the money. Sony got the money for the two Spider-Man films, which was billions of dollars. And they're like, we just made billions of dollars. We can do this without you. And everybody panicked and freaked out. Tom Holland called the CEOs, and that war that summer that happened is just nuts. They're playing nice again. They're sharing. Basically, they have a shared contract. Sony signs Spider-Man over to Disney and says, you can use him. We get to make our own movies, whatever we want to make in the Spider-Man universe. And that's hundreds of characters. I mean, the characters that are in the Spider-Man universe is not just Spider-Man. It's all of the different Spider-Mans, all of their different villains, all of the Venomverse. All of that stuff is Spider-Man, is Spider-Verse. And Sony owns them all. So they can't do Venom, they can't do Carnage, they can't do, Mary Jane.
And that's a lot. That's a lot. It breaks down to a lot.
Yeah. And so Sony's now playing nice again. They say, you can use Spider-Man. You do the movie. We'll distribute it. We'll be the ones that, put it in movie theaters and pass it out. And, then they start negotiating money. Who gets what share of the pie? And it was basically because of the success of the MCU and the fans that got them playing nice together again. And it was Tom Holland that called the CEOs and said, look, you guys are screwing over the fans, by doing this. But they're still making their own movies. They're making the cartoon movies. They're making Venom. They're making, Venom 2. They're making Morbius, all that stuff. Their hope and their dream. Sony sees Sony now as funny because Sony, they want to go into the MCU. They want to continue making their movies, but they want to play in the MCU playground. Kevin Feige's have no part of it, but they're trying to push themselves into it. It's really funny. And they can use whatever character they want. Like the Vulture, that was the villain from the first Spider-Man film. He showed up in the trailer for Morbius. It's not a Disney film. That's not an MCU film. They're allowed to use them because that's their character.
Wow.
But when it's a Marvel movie, they're like, all right, well, we need to touch the story with Vulture again. Go for it, you know, whatever. We're not running Spider-Man as a central theme in the MCU. He was part of the whole Iron Man story. When we get to Spider-Man, we'll talk about it. So it's like his characters that come and go can be used in the Sony universe without it affecting anything because it doesn't affect the main story. But they're playing nice, so that's all we care about. It's my Fantastic Four expect them soon in the MCU. And they were watching those Spider-Man games because they were just bad. Oh, these are not bad, Debbie. These are
not bad.
actually really, really good. Some of the best MCU movies are these two Spider-Man films.
I say you try. You need to give it another try.
Watch Spider-Man Homecoming. Right here. Spider-Man Homecoming. Watch. Iron Man, Tom Holland.
This is a children's show. You don't eat DVDs.
Now.
This is my whole shrine to Tom Holland. Oh, my Tom Holland. So where are we going? What are we going to do first in this series of unfortunate events? We're going to do phase 1. In phase 1, where did I say it started?
Iron Man.
So let's open up our little case of goodies here, and we'll talk about phase 1, so that you can get the timeline down, Nelly Mel. We'll have more fun with action figures when we actually do the story. When we actually talk to characters. But no, Shield. Shield is an agency that is
I love
basically
Shield. I love
like
Shield.
Yeah. So we're going to be dealing with Shield. They'll come into the picture. Why can I never figure this out? They'll be coming into the picture soon. But here we go.
Yay!
This bad boy right here.
That's where Samuel L. Jackson comes in. Is the Agents of Shield.
Yep. He's the runs these Shield. So in this big protective case with this little keypad and everything, there's a glowing cube. It's not glowing because I don't have it turned on. There's a glowing cube in the middle. That is called the Tesseract. The entire phase 1 deals with the Tesseract and the hunt for the Tesseract and where's the Tesseract and what is the Tesseract doing. Why is the Tesseract so important?
You tell me. Is that what activates the stones?
It is the stone.
It is the stone.
The stone in a different form.
Oh, okay. So it's the first stone.
Different sizes.
See, they confuse the shit out of me with that because I'd be like, that's not the same thing.
One of the stones is liquid. So it's like they're different. So the whole first phase, we don't know that this cube they're hunting for is stone. So we're hunting our first stone right from the beginning, right from the jump. And the whole first phase is about our first stone. So we'll start the adventure. So what is the first phase? I said we got Iron Man here. Fun. Great movie. We have a Hulk.
You know how much I love Iron Man. I love Iron Man.
And then we go to Iron Man 2. So it's the first time we get a sequel early. We do Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America. So we're just going to do all their origin stories. There's Captain America will lead right into the first scene of Avengers.
Okay.
And then we'll do Avengers, and then we'll see.
That's
we'll
how
do
it
Avengers as a crossover, but next week we'll do all of their origin stories, and then we'll do the Avengers.
Exciting.
We get to Endgame. I want you to watch them so you can feel the emotion of Endgame. Endgame is freaking powerful. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
You need to watch them in order, though.
Yeah.
So watch them in the order that I present them.
I'll send you a list so you know what order to watch them all in.
Oh, that would be perfect. Let's put that in the description of each video as well.
Yeah, phase 1. We post all 23. So you can buy a lot of box sets now with all 23 that are not like these grand box sets. I saw the new box set that's out like Best Buy, which is just like the disc. I think it's really cheap. It's like $100-something for the 23 films.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of films.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's 23 films. But they never did a big deluxe case like this for phase 3. I'm so mad. Yeah, we do have one for phase 2 though. I'll show that one when it comes. Because phase 2 is going to get into the outer space stuff.
Debbie said, "Can we skip over Iron Man 3?"
Oh my God! See, I don't understand the hate for Iron Man 3.
You can't
Maybe we
skip
can talk about it when we get there. We can talk about Iron Man 3 when we get there. I love Iron Man 3.
Let's see. Buffy said, I'm pretty sure it's Jackson talking though, but it says, Mom won't watch the Spider-Verse, but it's the best. You are right.
No. The cartoon that he's talking about, or Buffy's talking about, is yes, Jackson probably talking,
Yeah.
is the best Spider-Man film. And what it is Sony Pictures, because Marvel was
Into
overdoing
the
the MCU.
Spider-Verse. I've seen that one. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I couldn't tell you, I've seen it so many times now because my husband, he gets onto a movie and he watch it over and over. And he's like you, he's all about the MCU and everything else too. So he understands it, but
well, see, that's where we got Spider-Man in trouble, was because when Into the Spider-Verse came out and it was a huge success, and then it won a freaking Oscar. It won an Oscar for best animated film that year. It was like, holy shit, Sony can do a good Spider-Man film without Marvel, and they're like, fuck. And so that's what Sony kept going on. We did Into the Spider-Verse. We know Spider-Man. We understand him. We can do it without you guys. Luckily, they're not going to, but.
And I was wondering why it had come out at the, like, right after the other Spider-Man movie came out and right before the other one was coming out. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? I'm getting confused. This is a cartoon now, but are we doing it as the same universe? And then after I watched it, I realized what was going on. Because my husband, he had even said, who's Spider-Gwen? And I'm like,
yeah.
I know who Spider-Gwen is. I know. And that was before I saw the movie. So that made me want to see it even more, because then I understood that there was going to be these different characters that were same character, but from different universes.
The two different comic runs that we've had of Spider-Verse is the best comic series I've ever read. I mean, I went through the most recent Spider-Verse thing as this whole huge thing in like 10 days or something. It was so much fun, and there's so many spiders, because basically the Marvel universe.
You know who's underrated in that universe, or that world, I guess, from his own universe, is Spider-Man Noir.
Spider-Man, yeah, he's got his own comic right now.
Yeah, I know, but he's underrated. He's actually really good, and anybody who likes Dick Tracy or anything like that, it's that same kind of era, time period, you know, and I like that stuff.
Nicolas Cage played in the cartoon.
Oh, did he?
But Into the Spider-Verse, basically, what that Spider-Verse is all about is about testing the waters to replace Peter Parker with Miles Morales, because Miles Morales came new on the scene when the first Spider-Verse was going on, and he was a brand new kid. They took Spider-Man back to being a kid. He was African American. He was, spunky like Peter Parker was, and it was a whole new boy to follow with a whole new backstory and a whole thing. And Marvel Comics started it, and the comic was like started a little slow, and then all of a sudden it gained some speed, and then all of a sudden Miles Morales was more popular than Peter Parker.
Well, because it was a new story. Peter Parker's story, his origin story anyway, has been the same forever. Whereas with Miles, we had a whole new backstory, but it was more relatable to kids nowadays and to what kids are going through and dealing with.
Hey, Mama. Hey, Mom.
Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man, first Tom Holland Spider-Man. They said Miles Morales is there, because Spider-Man captures Miles' uncle. Mm-hmm. He captures him and webs his hands to the car, and he says, "I gotta call my nephew," and that's Miles. So they've already established that Miles Morales exists in the MCU. So whether Sony plays nice and gives Miles to see, when the whole Peter Parker thing went down, the whole Spider-Man thing went down with Sony and Marvel, everybody kept asking, "Just do Miles Morales, Sony. You can have Miles Morales. Just do his universe. Leave Peter Parker in the universe." But it looks like.
Hi, son.
What's up, you?
You say hi. We're talking about Spider-Man.
Talking about Spider-Man.
He's wearing his Batman shirt today. Wrong shirt.
Yeah, wrong river.
You got to put on your Spider-Man shirt.
Not me.
No.
Spider-Man.
Very horrendous. No, don't, Michael.
Yeah. Look, there's Spider-Man. Do you see Spider-Man on the Action Studio camera? Look right there.
Glossy.
Is there Spider-Man?
Who's got
You
questions?
see?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, you see Spider-Man? He's right there.
Who's my favorite? Who's my favorite?
Michael's
Connor?
favorite?
Oh, there he goes. He knows it's Spider-Man.
Oh, it
He
is
always
not.
says Michael's Spider-Man. Michael's Spider-Man.
May I get
It's not.
something out of the
It's not.
please?
No.
Who is
Who is it?
Fantastic Four? Fantastic Four is my favorite franchise, and
I'm
I
sorry?
can't wait.
I wanted something out of the pantry.
Nope. Go talk to
I
Dad.
lost something
Go ask
very
him.
horrendous.
She lost something very horrendous.
Uh-oh.
If you've never read the story if you're a comic book reader and you've never read the Infinity Gauntlet saga, it's good. It's very different from the movie, but it still has the same heart, has the same, because that's what they're doing with these things. They'll take these titles, they'll take
Okay.
the heart of it, and then they'll
Let's
change it.
point out to Jackson real quick. Honey, this won't be again until next Sunday. So not
Sunday.
tomorrow. This is we're only
Wait.
doing Marvel action theater, action figure theater. We're gonna do on Sundays. So
It's
it'll be
Dark
on it'll be next Sunday again at the same time as today, 4 Central, 2 Pacific, right?
Mhm.
2 Pacific, yeah.
Yep,
So we're
yep.
gonna, just so you know, honey. But yeah, tell all your friends to come check it out. We think you
Yeah.
guys will have fun. You guys can talk with us in the comments. You can ask questions. You guys can share your knowledge with each other and with us.
Yeah,
Welcome,
we might do things
welcome.
a little differently next week. We might be in the comments and not live. We're debating.
Yeah.
Debating on that, but so that is the plan.
Yas. Galactus.
And that is where we're at.
Huh? Yeah, see, yeah, like Fantastic Four and Venture Brothers. I hope the Fantastic Four get their well due. I trust Kevin Feige. I trust the MCU.
They've been trying so hard to fix the Fantastic Four, and it's just
If they get John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, that's a good start. They want to do it. They've asked. We'll see. They got a long way to go. We're not going to see that for 2022, 2023.
Wait, who's John been asked to play?
What? John Krasinski?
Yeah.
John.
Mr. Fantastic. Reed Richards.
Okay. Okay.
He's
I
not been
see
formally
him,
asked.
I see him
No,
doing that
he's been
role.
wanting
I
to play-
do.
He's been wanting to play him. And there's rumors about director too
Can
that
you see him as the
may have been
Human
the first
Torch?
one, but-
Can you see him as the Human Torch?
No, it's Mr. Fantastic.
No. I know. I'm saying I'm glad that's who it is because that's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I could see
oh yeah,
him.
no, he's
do that
perfect.
role.
Great. They need, my opinion, they need to hire a
Let's
teenager
go.
to be Johnny Storm. Just like they did with Tom Holland, because Tom Holland, or Peter Parker and Johnny Storm are about the same age, and they
Yeah.
need to hire a teenager to do Johnny Storm. And I think they should already have their son, at least their son, maybe both kids.
Yeah.
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 Skip that whole
Because
mess.
yeah,
'cause
are
I
they
think
going to try and tie in the previous movie, or are they going to just skip over and pretend it never happened?
No idea. Oh,
Just
the previous
to
movie.
continue the storyline.
Yeah. No. It'll be brand new. Nothing of those previous stories will exist in the universe. They may do some shared backstory, but I don't think they're even going to follow that backstory necessarily. I think that just might be their history. I think they're going to jump into the cosmic, because Fantastic Four changed. It went from a very New York-based comic book with a family and fighting crime to a big cosmic event. I mean, Fantastic Four basically run outer space. Reed Richards, like the smartest man in the world. He's went out and saved the galaxy, from ruin. And so it's more of a space book now than it is a New York book. So that's where I think they're going with it. They're going to start out in space. So they'll be out in space, not in New York when all the Avengers crap went down.
No. Boy,
But what's
go through that.
importantly before coming is Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is a huge villain for the Marvel Universe.
Take that upstairs, put it in the sink.
Crosses over to everybody.
Put it in the sink.
And there was some fight over Doctor Doom for a while, when all those film franchises were laid down, because different franchises were claiming claim to him. The Spider-Man universe was trying to claim him. The
Put it in the sink upstairs. No.
Ultimately, Fantastic Four won because that was their first appearance.
right.
But
So
you'll
do
be
we want to
Thanos.
add anything else?
Thanos.
Do we want to add anything else?
No, oh, and Debbie, to speak on Deadpool and Squirrel Girl. Let's talk about Deadpool and Squirrel Girl just really, really quick. She brings up something funny. Deadpool is wow. There's a lot to be said about Deadpool. What Ryan Reynolds and the director have done with Deadpool has been an absolute utter success because they did rated R Deadpool films because that's how Deadpool is. That is his humor. That's his violence.
Right.
And it only worked because it was that. Disney doesn't want to have any part of that. And that breaks their mold. That breaks, their whole putting out a superhero movie under an R rating is so. I think there's been a lot of niceties on Disney's part, saying, "Oh yeah, Ryan Reynolds, and oh yeah, we'll do Deadpool 3, and oh we'll work on it." And there's rumors behind the scenes that Deadpool 3 is not going to happen. That they're going to use Deadpool in a completely different way. So I don't know what's true, but that's the rumors that they're just kind of smiling to their face because I don't think they want anything to do with a rated R superhero film.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what time says. And Squirrel Girl, you better believe she's going to end up in the comic. She has gained a lot of support in the young female community. She's become a big little ever since she was in Marvel Rising and that cartoon show. People just flock to her for some reason. I mean, she's one of the stupidest characters ever invented, but she's stands
But
up
I
a
think
lot.
that's why, because people are like, she's so underrated.
Yeah, it's that kind of bullied girl picked on kind of thing. They
Yeah.
even made it heavy in the cartoon series where she was a bigger girl, kind of picked on. But she's so kind and she all the squirrels flock to her and love her and it's just weird, but it's really popular. Miss Marvel is coming to. They're going to do Young Avengers or Champions, which is the young kids thing. They've already started to establish it in the MCU, so that's where Squirrel Girl is going to fit in because they're already doing the Miss Marvel TV show, and Squirrel Girl will show up around at those times, the Young Avengers times, and it'll be a Disney Plus show probably. And she'll be in there, part of the team, and her little squirrels running around and with her big bushy tail and just doing nonsense. But she's popular. So is Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel is one of the most popular characters out there today. And that's not Captain Marvel. That's Miss Marvel, the girl that has Reed Richards' power. Stretch. Questions, comments, concerns, songs, dances. Anybody want to get naked?
What?
You're listening.
I was looking at the comments.
No, I have school tomorrow to watch next Sunday.
E-school.
Huh? No, I have E tomorrow to watch next Sunday.
He's going to tell his friends tomorrow at E-school to watch next Sunday.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I keep thinking Buffy's talking. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's Jackson.
Work, Angelica. All right. Anybody got anything else? Wait, I'll tell them tomorrow to watch Sunday. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Sunday. Whatever time you guys are there in the UK.
Debbie said she's drawing Squirrel Girl right now.
Oh, you have to show us some of
we want to see it when you're done, Deb.
You're done.
There is a Squirrel Girl figure pack that I do not own yet. It keeps getting pumped down my list of each month to buy, but it's cute. I'll tell you that much. It's cute, but I haven't been able to. I don't know where she would fit in this mess. We're getting lots and lots of new characters. So when we finish this, we'll talk about the new characters that are coming that I'm really excited about.
All right. Well, guys, that's our show. Thank you for coming. We will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we will be talking Freaks.
I don't want to PG Deadpool either.
The original Freaks of Freak Show. Please join us tomorrow at our regular time, which is 4 Pacific and 6 Central p.m.
Tomorrow's really special because the original Freaks, we're going to talk about the real people. Because if you guys have not seen them, those of you that follow American Horror Story, there is a bio, a small little film about each one of these performers on the Blu-ray, and you can also find them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe we should find them in YouTube. Post the link.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. The actor that plays Paul. Oh my God, I fell in love with him just on his story. They're fascinating people, and unfortunately, I think all of them except for Paul is dead now in real life.
Yeah, I think you. No, Erica's not, is she?
Oh no, yeah, Erica's not. Sorry, yeah, but Susie did. Mom,
and Chrissy's not, but she wasn't a real performer. But
yeah, no.
But anyway, we'll get into that tomorrow. But yeah, you guys, thank you for being here. We love you all. We look forward to seeing you
Oh,
guys tomorrow.
I did have a wand of the day.
Oh,
I forgot
yeah.
that. Thanos. Get out of the way, Spidey. Thanos is playing the wand of the day. I kind of like that, right? Oop, there you go. Ooh. Never mind, it's gonna break.
Yeah, is he
So,
holding it or isn't he?
There we
right.
go.
So the wand of the day is the only reason I picked it. There's no rhyme or reason. It's because it was a pointer. It was straight in his stick. Seamus Finnegan, one of the friends from Gryffindor, one of the boys. He's the one that
You
likes to
gotta
blow
show
things
those
up.
ones somehow too, right?
Huh?
You
Yeah.
gotta show those ones somehow too.
That's right. There you go. So
So
it was a pointer.
again, I say thank you all for being here. We love you so much, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Spidey, help me out.
All right, everybody, take
We're out.
care.
We're out.
Bye.
We're out. We're out. We're out.